Rick Ross never forgot the streets that shaped him, but few know just how messy his climb to the top really was. Long before the multi-platinum records, the Maybach fleet, and the mansion tours, there was a situation that could have easily stopped him cold. This story goes deeper than rap. It involves a petty street dealer who underestimated a young Rosie, a silent beef that grew into full-blown tension, and a whispered connection to none other than Big Meech and the Black Mafia family. It starts in the trenches of Miami, back when Rick Ross was still known as William Roberts. Before he ever stepped in a recording booth, he was already soaking in game from the streets. Word was, Ross wasn't flashy then. He was observing, watching everything. But not everyone in his circle respected the quiet ones. There was one local plug, a small-time dealer who had the block on lock for a while. He wasn't a kingpin, but in that part of Miami, he carried weight, and he didn't think much of young Ross. According to people who were around then, this guy used to clown him, call him soft, and even told others he'd never make it. Petty insults, constant disrespect, and even refusing to front him anything to hustle with. He made sure Ross stayed at the bottom. But Ross wasn't the type to react with emotion. He was studying moves. While others were chasing fast money, Ross was thinking long-term. He kept his cool, stayed in the background, and planned. That's where his connection to Big Meech comes into play. During the early 2000s, Ross started getting noticed by circles that reached beyond Miami. It wasn't just because of his music. Ross understood the value of networking, and he started making contacts with individuals close to BMF. Now here's where it gets wild. That same petty dealer who once laughed at Ross ended up trying to cross paths again, but this time it wasn't friendly. Once Ross started building his name locally, doing shows and shaking hands with people Meech respected, the tables turned. That old dealer came around like nothing ever happened, acting like they were day ones. But Ross didn't forget. Not only did he reject the fake love, he made it known in the streets. This man wasn't to be trusted. Rumor has it, Meech himself caught wind of the situation. See, BMF didn't like disloyalty. If someone tried to block a future earner, that was seen as a threat to the movement. Meech operated like CEO. He believed in backing people with potential and cutting off those who stood in the way. And allegedly, Meech made sure that the petty dealer who once clowned Ross was put in his place, permanently. Not physically, but economically. He lost his plug, lost his street pull, and disappeared from the game entirely. One source even said, Meech didn't have to do much. He just made a call. That dude was done. Years later, Ross would go on to immortalize Meech in his breakout hit BMF, Blowin' Money Fast. To most fans, it was just a song. But those who really knew, they recognized the salute. That wasn't just a banger. It was Ross giving props to the man who helped make his enemies disappear without ever firing a shot. That's the kind of protection you get when you move smart and stay loyal. But this story doesn't end there. Because now we fast forward to today's rap scene, where the streets are still talking and loyalty still matters. Boston Richey, a rising Florida rapper, found himself in hot water when paperwork allegedly linked him to cooperating with authorities. The internet lit up. People started questioning if he was really street, if he could survive in the same game that built people like Ross. And guess who weighed in? Rick Ross. Ross didn't say much, just a few bars here and there. But if you read between the lines, he was making a statement. Loyalty can't be bought. It's earned, tested, and proven. Ross didn't forget how the game nearly shut him out before he ever dropped a mixtape. So when he sees new rappers playing both sides, he keeps his distance. Meanwhile, Lil Durk, who's been fighting his own battles in and out the booth, knows all too well how the streets don't forget. His crew has taken losses. He's had to defend his name constantly. And now he's become a voice for survival in a cutthroat industry. It's why Durk and Ross never fully locked in. Mutual respect? Sure. But their worlds are different. Durk is still in the trenches in many ways. Ross already made it out, but he hasn't forgotten where he came from. People like to say Ross was a correctional officer, and they try to use that to erase his street cred. But what they don't understand is how power really works. Ross didn't just rap about the game. He played it like chess. The CO job was a cover, a play, maybe even a way to gather intel. Who's to say it wasn't part of a long-term strategy? Because when you look at his rise, Nothing about it was random. And while others were flashing guns and getting indicted, Ross was setting up Wingstop deals, buying land, and building a legacy. That petty dealer who once clowned him? Nobody remembers his name, but everyone knows Rick Ross. That's the difference between chasing clout and building power. You don't always have to respond when they diss you. Sometimes, the best revenge is turning the tables so hard, your enemies end up forgotten. Stories like this remind us why the rap game is more than music. It's war, politics, survival, and strategy. Ross knew how to navigate all of it, and now he's at the top, untouchable, respected, and richer than ever. Not because he was the loudest, but because he was the smartest. He waited, planned, and when the time came, he struck with precision. And when Ross shouts out Big Meech, it's not just homage, it's history. A coded message to those who doubted, disrespected, or dismissed him. He's not just the boss for nothing. He earned that title in blood, silence, and smart moves. So next time someone tries to clown you for being quiet, focused, or different, remember Rick Ross, the man who exposed the petty dealer, earned the respect of the kingpin, and showed the world how real bosses move in silence.